Welcome to Q&A practice. Let's start with defense attorney. Ready? Here we go. You have billed for that time. We have billed for everything up to April. I don't think we sent a bill since then. At the time of your deposition, you had put in about 90 hours. Is that correct? That could be. You know better than I do, Doctor, insofar as this case is concerned. When were you first called in on it? I believe the last week in January was the first time I heard of the case. At that time, were you furnished a copy of Mr. Carter's report? I was furnished many documents. That was one of them. And were you furnished pictures at that time that Mr. Carter had taken? Yes, I was. And were you furnished the parts that you have here in court? I was furnished several of those parts that we have in court. I don't know whether I was furnished all of them. Were you furnished the wheel and tire? I did not see those until they were here in court. I think I saw them for a couple of minutes, a couple of weeks ago, before they were here in court. Insofar as the parts that you were furnished at that time, can you tell me what parts you were given? Yes, I was given the power steering pump bracket. Did you ever see any spacer that was mounted with a bracket? No. What part of the automobile received the major impact damage? All I know is what I have seen in those pictures. Where do you determine that to be? Just casually looking at the pictures, there appears to be major damage on the right. The entire front appears to be damaged. Was the frame pushed to the right in the front end? I don't know how I could tell that by looking at those pictures. The camera was at such a funny angle, and I can't see that very well. All right, now for some voice practice. And we will start with the plaintiff attorney. Ready? Did the store clerk understand that she was being identified? Objection. Lack of foundation calls for speculation. Sustained as asked. Did you ask the clerk if she understood that she was being identified? Yes. And what was her response? Objection calls for hearsay. So noted for the record, but you may answer. I asked her if she understood she was being identified as a seller of alcoholic beverage to a 19-year-old minor, and she said yes. Where was this face-to-face conducted? Inside the store, just outside of the register area, back towards the storeroom by the hot dogs. Okay. Did you issue a citation to the store clerk? Yes. Was that before or after she had been identified? After. I'm going to ask you to take a look at photographs that have been marked as exhibits 2A and 2B. If you could take a look at that and tell me if you recognize the individual shown in 2A. Yes. Who is that? Who are those individuals? The decoy, Mike Collins, is on the left in the white t-shirt, and on the right is the clerk, Carla Ramirez. Is that the clerk who sold the beer to the minor? Yes. And what is the minor decoy holding in his hand? A 6-pack of bottled Budweiser beer. Is that the beer the store clerk sold him? Yes. Objection, lack of foundation. As to what? As to whether she knew it was actually even the beer that was sold him. That we don't know where this beer went, what happened to it. Sustained as asked. You said the decoy is holding something in his hand. Yes. What is he holding in his hand? A 6-pack of Budweiser bottled beer. And where did he get that beer? Objection, lack of foundation. I think to avoid the objections, you need to establish some foundation for this witness having knowledge as to where the beer came from. Just ask a few questions. Is this the same beer that the decoy purchased inside the store? Yes. Object, lack of foundation. Overruled. How do you know it's the same beer? Because I followed directly behind minor decoy Collins outside the store when Investigator Rios took possession of the beer at that time. Investigator Rios and Collins came back into the store together, therefore always having control of the evidence. Did you give that beer back to the decoy once he was inside of the store for the photograph. I don't remember if it was myself or Investigator Rios. Was it one of the investigators? You're saying it was one of the investigators, yes, who returned the beer to him for the photograph, but I don't know actually who handed it. Did Rios hand it to me, to the decoy, or did Rios just hand it to the decoy? Okay, that's fine, thank you. If you could also look at exhibits 3A and 3B, both photographs on the same sheet. Do you recognize the individual shown in those two photographs? Yes. All right, that will conclude our Q&A practice.